Also, you want to know? When you're ready. When you want.
Wait till the clock's 7.
1 minute. No, 1 minute.
Yes. I'm calling to order the Township Council meeting of West Windsor on January 27th, 2025. Allison, can you please call the roll?
Gawas. Here. Jeevers. Here. Mandel.
Here.
Weiss.
Here.
Whitfield.
Here.
Will you please stand to salute the flag? And will we adequately notice?
Yes, we were adequately noticed on January 17th, 2025 to the Times in the Princeton Packet, filed with the municipal clerk, posted at the municipal building and on the township website.
Thank you. For our first order of business, we have two topics for priority consideration. The first one is going to be a presentation by the Friends of West Windsor Open Space on the Moses Tunder to Tommy Trail. And the second one is going to be by the mayor on the affordable housing resolution. The way this is going to work is we're going to have up to 10-minute presentation by FAUS and the associated groups. And at that point, when that presentation is over, I'm going to ask the mayor to say a few words on the project. And then I'm going to open up, allowing council to ask any questions they might have. As far as the public, after the two presentations, we're going to have public comment, usual public comment, and that would be the time to make your comment on anything that, on these two items and also on anything that's going to be voted on tonight. There is a second public comment period. However, these items will be voted on before that comment period. On that note, Mike, if you'd like to come up with the presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for holding this council meeting. And ironically, this is the third.
If you could just identify yourself for the record.
Oh, sure. My name is.
Mike, can you make sure to speak into the microphone? Raise it a little, otherwise you're not going to be, it
Just try
won't be recorded.
tilting it up towards you
Yeah.
more.
Thanks.
Is that better?
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
So my name is Michael Schuett, SCHUIT. I live at 234 Windsor Court in Ewing. So thank you for having me here tonight. And I'm here to discuss the Moses Tunder Tommy Trail. And I just want to say this is the third time I've been here within the last few weeks talking about the trail. And it's a pleasure to be here tonight to hopefully pass a resolution where the township will agree to match Green Acres funding for this. So thank you very much. So just real quickly, I'm the acting president of the Friends of West Windsor Open Space. Allison Miller is the president. And this is my second tour of duty. It's kind of like Tom Cruise in his movie, in that I was one of the founders of FAUS back in '95, and I was the president for several years in the late '90s. And I'm very proud to say the combination of work with FAUS and the township has 50.9% of the land in the township is preserved as open space. And I'm very proud of that. So tonight we're going to talk about this proposed Tunder Trail And this first slide you can see is a representation, artist representation of the trail. And the trail is going to be between Penlisle Road and the Duck Pond Run Pump House, which is at the end of the Jacob Drive extension. And in total, the trail is be close to a mile in length. And the beauty of the trail, there's two things beauty about this whole concept in the trail. The first thing that is amazing about this is that the location of the trail is within a very historic area. As you may know, West Windsor had a Lapi Indian a nation, and one of their leaders was Moses Tundi Tamati, and he was here in the 1700s, and we know that because the deeds for this area have his name on it. And so the beauty of the trail is that we'll be able to walk the area that this historic area that this that Tanabe was in. So, and the other second thing that's great about this, the entire trail is going to be over an existing sewer line, and the property immediately adjacent, both sides, is all township property. It's great. There'll be no environmental degradation, and you can walk through the trail and see beautiful canopy. Next slide, please, Clark. So this application we're making to the State Green Acres with FOA's Friends West Windsor Open Space is doing it with the Historical Society of West Windsor and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Alliance. Next, please. And as you can see from this picture, it's a little older picture, but the three gentlemen to the left, Harley Pickens, Dick Snedeker, and Ron Rogers, were instrumental in establishing FOAs. And you probably know Xing Fouché, former mayor and council person. And by the way, Xing is doing really well. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the concept plan. And the concept plan shows the route of the trail. You can see on the right, the red dot, it will be Penlisle, and then running a little bit over, it'll be crossing the Duck Pond Run where that star is. And I already met with DEP to talk about any possible permitting, and there'll be permit for this bridge. There's an existing bridge there now, but it doesn't meet ADA requirements. So a bridge that meets ADA requirements, which won't be large in size, will be constructed there. And then at the other red little box shows the intersection with North Post Road, and then the dog leg shows a remainder of the trail going to the pump house. Next slide, Clark. Okay, so why the trail? As I said, it's already cleared access. It's promoting exercise and appreciation in nature. And as we just talked about, we'll be embracing Moses Tamati. He's a significant, will not be a negotiator and diplomat. Next slide, please. Okay, so who will use it? Well, first of all, we're going to be putting crushed stone, the length of it between Penlisle and North Post. And this is a special type of crushed stone that's very easy on the feet, very easy to walk on. And it's going to be the width of it within the sewage treatment line is going to be 10 feet. And what's great about this, as you know, there's so many surrounding neighborhoods, for instance, Birchwood Estates, La Park 1. It's very accessible to the neighborhood surrounding the trail. Next, please. Okay, so the benefits to West Windsor. It's going to be connecting neighborhoods. And also, as we said, good for exercising, the appreciation of nature and the history that we just mentioned. Next slide, please. So as I just mentioned, we're going to need some permits, and one permit will be for replacing this small bridge, making it ADA appropriate over the duck pond run. And we're going to be working with the DEP for permitting, and with local contractors in consultation with the township. Next, please. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to talk about the costs. And this slide shows you the cost summary. And coming up to the microphone is going to be my friend and colleague, Jerry Foster. And he's with the Bike Alliance, Pedestrian Bike Alliance. And he's a resident of West Windsor. And Jerry, before you begin, why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your background?
Hello. So my name is Jerry Foster, 15 Suffolk Lane here in West Windsor. A longtime trustee in the West Windsor Bicycle and Pedestrian Alliance, not currently in a officer position or anything like that. I've joined Allison in the ranks of being somebody who stepped back a little bit from leadership of the group. Mike was kind enough, or maybe not, depending on your point of view, to pull me in to try to work up some cost estimates for this trail. One of the things I had done professionally was work as work for Greater Mercer Transportation Management Association. I worked on developing a regional trail plan for Mercer County. If you go out onto Greater Mercer TMA's website, you'll find the Greater Mercer Trails Plan. And one of the nice things you can say for this particular section of trail is that not only is it in the West Windsor Township Master Plan, in the bikeways, the planned bikeways and walkways section, it's also on the Greater Mercer TMA's Trails Plan as well. So both of these, this particular section of trail, of course, is a very small section of what could become a longer Tatami trail. But the idea anyway here is we're going to focus on building the first section, which is what Mike said, between Penlisle and North Post, including crossings of both Penlisle and North Post. So the crossings, in terms of the cost and that kind of thing, they're like you have been looking at with the flashing beacons, right? Somebody pushes a button, the beacon flashes, you've got a nice high visibility crosswalk, you have ADA ramps on both sides. We'd have to have some ramps for Penlisle as well as for the North Post side. Eventually, if there's a second section to this, we would want to take what's the existing sewer line, which has got an active construction site right now, and then connect it up with Clarksville Road, and there would be an additional rapid flashing beacon and ADA ramps and that kind of stuff. There's currently a sidewalk that goes on Clarksville out to that spot, only on one side of the road, unfortunately not on the Avalon side of the road. It's on the other side of the road where all the commercial establishments are, but we still can get hooked up with sidewalks that way.
Just to let you know, Jerry, if you want to finish up, we are 10 minutes into the presentation.
Okay. The numbers, they're the numbers. I don't know how much the numbers are going to make a difference for what you're going to hear in terms of people being for or against the trail. But I'll thank you very much for your support.
Thank you very much, Mike and Jerry. Mayor, did you want to have some comments on the trail?
I will, thanks. First, I wanted to say thank you for the picture. I saw Harley's picture after a long time. He was the first guy I met when I joined Lions Club. So thank you for having that picture, brought back some memories. So when FOAs approach me, you can sit down. When they tell me I speak for too long, so.
You want us to set a timer? We'll do that.
That's what my kids always tell me, you speak for too long. So anyway, so when FOAS approached me regarding this trail, first thing I was happy that FOAS was active again. I mean, FOAS, since I became mayor, haven't had much luck working with FOAS on various projects. They have done a lot of good things for township. So they did give me a presentation and I did like the idea and I did tell them to go ahead and do the work to make the project. So if the council does vote today, so to present, to apply for the grant and the grant gets made and the trail gets built, it's my decision. Don't be mad at the council. I didn't give them green light to go ahead, otherwise it would have been finished. But these are the kinds of decisions where the mayor and the council earn their $1 million salaries, because there's no right or wrong answer here. I mean, I've attended now several meetings. I couldn't stay for the last meeting fully, but I did hear all the objections. And then following the meeting, I did talk to a few people who have objection to the trail. So I do see there's valid points or valid concerns on both sides of the argument and genuine concerns. One of the things that I would like to address is people have talked about money, about $300,000. I just rounding up the number. Money is money. I mean, people have said that the money can be used better in some other ways, which is always true. And when developers approach me asking for pilot, trying to convince me that the municipal taxes will go down, I tell them that a dollar coming out of my right pocket is as painful as dollar coming out of my left pocket. It's the same. So that is true, but this money is going to come out of our open space tax fund. It's not going to come out of our operating budget or even our this budget. So that open space tax is meant for projects like these. We collect the tax, and we have managed the tax and managed the money well. We usually buy properties as soon as we get matching grants from other people. So one of the questions that was asked is whether if we do get the grant, whether the money is given direct right away or like all other projects, my grandkids will get the money. So it's good to hear that money is the 50% matching grant from Green Acres is given right away, and township doesn't have to spend the money first to get the grant later, sometime years down the line. So money is a genuine thing, but that is exactly why the open space tax is collected and why open space money is used. And that money, if we do go ahead with the trail, that is the money that will be used to fund this. Again, if the council does vote tonight to approve the grant application and we do get the grants, we will have one of the sessions. We will try to address as many concerns that the residents have about the trail as best as I can. I mean, if I'm still the mayor, as best as I can. They're not NIMBY complaints. They are genuine complaints. I do understand that. But having seen and heard both sides, I would recommend the council to take the next step and at least apply for the grant to Green Acres and see where we go from there. So, and if they have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. I think that what wasn't mentioned was Friends of West Windsor Open Space did hold a public hearing last week. It was about 3 hours long. A number of council people and a number of other neighbors and other people did attend, and we did get the more than 10-minute of the description of this project. And there's also a bunch of information online on the FAO spot in addition to what came out with the agenda. I'm going to open up to the council for any questions. I can start on that side if you'd like, Dan.
Thank you. There was a comment about possibly continuing this over to Clarksville. Now, is that part of this plan, or is that a potential second phase?
So Dan, that's not part of this plan, and I'll tell you why. It's not part of this plan in that some of the parcels between the pump station and Clarksville that you're talking about, the department, excuse me, the township has an easement over those parcels, but they don't own those parcels. There's two parcels. So those two parcels, the only thing that the township is allowed is the sewer, the line.
Right.
And there's an easement. So what we would do, in consultation with the township, we would speak to those two property owners and we would renegotiate, bless you, the easement to allow not only the sewer line, but to allow the trail to continue. So that would be, some people say, oh, that would be the second phase. Possibly, if the property owners would agree to open the easement to allow the trail thereupon.
Got it. So at this stage, it's not included. It's the potential of a second phase,
Exactly.
and there's a lot of ifs to that. It'd be really nice to see that because that would actually open up the entire trail to a completely new set of community folks on to access it from the Clarksville Road.
I agree.
And just to clarify, what we're voting on today is the agreement that we're going to apply for the grant.
Well, when we say we,
are.
is that the Friends of West Windsor Open Space we are applying for the grant.
It's
It's a
a grant.
nonprofit. And then what you'll be voting on is two things. Number one, the township would be amenable for putting up to 50% of the project cost. And the other part of the resolution would be the use and the maintenance of the trail. Now, it's very clear now that since that area is owned by the township, people can walk that right now. But we're going to be improving that to have a better experience and more comfortable experience and a historical experience.
Right, that was gonna be my next question is, right now, that space in that trail is available and accessible to people now, just that
Exactly.
it's not ADA available,
Right.
accessible.
And we're going to have special crushed stone along the portion between Penn Lyle and North Post that is specially designed for pedestrians to be very comfortable to walk on. And now, currently, it's not easy, at least for me, to walk the trail because of the large stones that are part of the sewage authorities building of their construction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan. Sonny?
I have the exact same question. But I just would like to see, like, can we at least make a mention that there is a potential phase 2 of it? So we could connect the trail all the way to Clarksville Road? Is that even?
Absolutely. So in our application is not due until February 5th. And part of the reason why we're here tonight, not only to get your okay, but to get more public input. And we've gotten public input already. Matter of fact, not only did we have the hearing that Andrea spoke about, but I've met with some of the objectors in person and we talked about it. And I wanted to be very inclusive to have, the objectors, information, what problems they have so we can address it. And hopefully if this does go through, our intention is to continue meeting with, the objectors and all people in the neighborhoods to get more of their input on what this is going to look like.
Right. My second question is, I know in the plan, we don't have any concept or thoughts on parking space for this trail, even if it's like 3 or 4 spots, like not a big, I'm not talking about a big parking lot, but for most parts, I think, in my personal opinion, it's going to be the neighborhoods, residents from the connecting neighborhoods who would use the trail. But to avoid people from parking in these neighborhoods to access the trail, is that something that has been talked about or
Yes.
possibly in the future, maybe?
Well, let me just,
And I'm saying like it could be just a simple gravel area where 3 or 4 cars at the most can park. My neighborhood connects to a trail and there is a parking lot for maybe 4 or 5 spots. And I've, in the last 16 years that I've lived in, I've rarely seen any car there, ever. So it's mostly used by the connecting neighborhoods. Very rarely do I see somebody, or at the most, if they park there, they walk down the road to go fishing or something like that. So
so Sonia, to address what you're saying, as you know, West Windsor, we have a habit here of naming our neighborhoods. Okay. So there's approximately, if, don't quiz me, but there's approximately 10 different neighborhoods, the Park One, Birchwood Estates, Lakeshore Drive. There's approximately 10 neighborhoods, Sunrise, West Winds, Princeton Ivy. So all those neighborhoods, it's easily accessible to walk to the trail. And in addition, you have the parking, and it's not that far away. You have the parking at Conover. You have parking at High School South. You have parking at Ward. And then if you really want a good workout, you have parking right here at the municipal building. So we envision this mostly having the surrounding neighborhoods using it. Now, as you heard in the public meeting we had a few days ago on this, it was mentioned at that public hearing that the pump station at the end of Jacob Drive Extension is going to be eliminated in maybe about 2 years or so, according to the township. So I'm not advocating this. I just want to make sure I'm not advocating this. But at that pump station, if that goes away, there is room for, if the township wants, limited parking, 3 or 4 spaces that you say. But we're not proposing that. We're not advocating that. I'm just saying that that could be a possibility. But I want to emphasize that this trail is easily accessible to literally 10 surrounding neighborhoods. And there, like I said, there is parking on Conover, the Conover Fields, at High School South, Ward Field. So, people who want to use the field, use the trail, walking, for instance, from High School South, it wouldn't be what we call a big schlep to get to the trail. So I hope I've answered your question.
Linda?
I know when the mayor mentioned about, having met with, you and some other people about this, that all the work was going to be done by FOAs on this. But then there was a lot of calls and emails and everything to staff, and staff got very busy and just, I guess, didn't have enough time to fully look at this. And that was the reality of what was happening behind the scenes, because this just came up a couple of weeks ago. I know through the years it's been discussed on and off by many people in town, but now it's formally come back again. So it's feeling a little bit, in some ways, rushed. Now, when I look at the finance sheets, the estimated costs and
Linda, before you
things.
continue, could I just address that? Or
Well-
you're going to another issue now? Should I just address that? Or you want?
I mean,
to-
I know that staff, that
disagree
I
with
could
you.
not get through to staff,
Okay.
because staff members were super busy and told not to work any further on this. And I, as a council person, I'm trying to just have some discussions, get some confidence, because there's a lot of estimates that were made here. And our engineers downstairs have a lot of experience too. And the people that put this together to have some experience. There's also an assumptions section on the second page, which is assuming work being done by the DPW and maybe some materials and different things. I have no idea how much like that costs. I don't know if there's a commitment from the administration or not. So I just had some questions. And I even asked the township attorney after the Shade Tree Commission, which you were out there, and I was out there walking out, like, can you look at this really quick? And no, so that's a little bit of a difficulty for me, not having some administration review and having give them the time to get back to council with saying, oh, this is great, this is perfect, or no, we need to do this differently. Maybe it costs more, maybe the estimates come lower. I don't know. I don't know, but it's a nice project. I love the historical significance of that and all that the Historical Society can help with putting out, all of that information. It's a beautiful area. I went out yesterday. I must have spent an hour and a half or so walking it. It's very nice. I didn't have any trouble with the stones. I'm not saying it's perfect. But it's there. It's there. It's a wide path. It exists. Walked over that little bridge that you just showed, little icy there, but I walked over it. But once you make improvements to the path and you put down crushed stone, now it seems as if that triggered a 350-foot bridge, which is 116 yards in a football field. Football season is 100 yards, so it's more than the length of a football field. So that doesn't exist right now. So it's just a lot of concerns, different things spinning through my head because this just seemed to have come up. I don't know whether there are any other options for maybe doing a scaled down version of this and to include the history, maybe correct some of the stones, get smoothed out or different things as opposed to having that crushed stone and having to build this very big, expensive bridge in the wetlands and all the permits and all of that. And I was also really trying to get, like, does that estimate look good, or is this not quite in the ballpark of the engineering department's experience in doing bridges and different things?
May I respond?
Mhm.
Okay, you said a lot. And some of the stuff you said is erroneous, and a lot of stuff you said is very general. So let me see if I can hit them all. First of all, FOAS is not doing the project. What FOAS is doing is preparing the application to submit to Green Acres. We're not constructing the project. And another thing, you talked about this 350-foot bridge. That's not accurate. That is a walkway. The bridge is very small. It's going to be very similar to the bridge you see now. It's going to be ADA compliant. So the new bridge is going to go there. It's going to look very similar to the existing one, except it's going to be ADA compliant. It's going to have railings. It's going to be a little bit wider. And so the bridge, when you're talking about this massive bridge, that's not what you're talking about. Is not the bridge. What we're going to have is a walkway over some area where it's wet. And I've already met with DEP about the permitting, and it's not an issue. Okay, I just want to say that.
All right, well,
Second of all, let me continue. A lot of brain power went into this, and not even talking the help that we got from the township, which we appreciate a lot. We had a civil engineer work on this. We had 2 accountants working on it, and we had 2 attorneys. So if you can give me specific problems with the proposal, I'll be glad to answer your questions. I just hear right now generalizations.
Right, because that's what we've received. I mean, I've served on the planning board for 10 years, and when an application comes in, there's reports and there's review and there's discussion back and forth. And that is sort of what I felt that this is missing, because this has just come up in the past couple of weeks. So I don't have any memos from chief financial officer about funds that we have, open space, who's doing this project. I thought FOAS is getting the grant. I was more under the impression that
We are getting
you're doing all of this involving construction and,
No, we're not, there's no place
Well-
in the application says that we're doing the construction. It's
so
a-
who's doing it? Then you're saying the township is gonna?
No,
Or
no.
who's
But
doing
it
it?
is, Jerry, why don't you come up and tell them about the process about, picking the companies who are going to actually do the work.
No, but who's controlling it? Are you going out to bid? Are you requests for proposals or? I'm trying to understand the process. That's all I'm trying to do.
Sorry. Most of my experience is with Safe Routes to School grants that are DOT grants, or not DEP grants. So what I'm going to tell you is what I've read in the application itself, which describes the process. And there is a bid process which has to follow the same bidding standards and process that the municipality would follow. So it's not the case that we can just do a no bid, for example. There's also the rules that have to do with the prevailing wage have to be followed exactly the way the township would have to follow them. So yes, a lot of the process that I think you're familiar with the township type of a project would also exist with this type of a project. Does that answer your question?
Jerry, I would assume that before we even get to building this, and there is money in there for that, you're going to be hiring a firm that's going to come in, is going to come up with the designs. Then once the design is pretty much agreed to by everybody, including the township, at that point, they will prepare bid preparation so the bid could be sent out. Is that coming before what we're even talking about at this point?
Yes. So, for example, and I'm not, these are things that haven't been necessarily, things that I've talked about with individual people at FOOS, right, is Lawrence Hopewell Trail, for example. Lawrence Hopewell Trail is like FOOS. It's a nonprofit organization. It has no governmental association with anything. It's a private organization. They applied for and have gotten grants for building the Lawrence Hopewell Trail over the last 25 years, right? So what they've done as an organization in the past is they've hired a project manager part-time, and the project manager goes through and follows that process, the same process that the township would have to follow. And, basically dot all the lines, get the, cross all the Ts, get all the, they have to hire a construction engineer to do an actual physical design. This is not physical design. This is concept, right? It's lines on a map. So all the things that you're used to seeing would still have to happen.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I was there any consideration of any, like a smaller scale of a project or not?
So
Kind of clean it up and.
My experience is all from the planning end. Generally speaking, for a trail, it's $1 million a mile. Okay. This pretty much fits into that ballpark. It's a little bit high in some ways because we already have some part of it already constructed, because Jacob Drive Extension's already paved out to where the houses are, and then it's already gravelled out to where this pumping station is. So we don't really foresee a lot of extra work there. So we get sort of that for what's there today for the most part. So from the perspective of the township, all that really means is if this comes in way under that, then we're covered with the grant. Okay. The danger from the township's perspective, when I don't say the word dangerous, the risk, the financial risk from the township's perspective is if we're low and we apply for less money, but it comes in at a higher cost, then where's that money going to come from? So the advantage of going on a grant proposal isn't to say, can we whittle this down, right? Because we don't want to whittle it down. What we want to do is get it done. If it happens to cost, only 3/4 of that, because, we had a $40,000 contingency fee that we didn't have any contingencies, right? We had a estimate for a boardwalk and a bridge, but you know what? It came in at a lot less. So just for example, one of my friends who's also a planner who works and does these trail projects, I said, well, what do you guys do with bridges and boardwalks? She goes, bridges and boardwalks. We just build those ourselves. They're too expensive to get somebody else to come in to do them, Do we have that possibility? I don't know, but that's kind of all in the future. At this point, we have to sort of go with, what we have today. And I am reasonably confident that we should be able to come in under, but again, who knows the future?
Well, I know it's very, it is difficult. I don't know where it's going to come and nobody knows till you really do more of this, the specs, and it's more engineered, or we're not at that point
Right.
yet.
And to answer your question about the 350 feet, we're proposing the boardwalk. What's happened is that there's a lot of gravel out there right now. And it goes from the Penlisle section over to where this one manhole cover is for the sewer line, right? And then about 10 or 15 feet further on, there's the bridge. And there's no heavy gravel that's been done between there and the bridge, right? Because nobody's going to drive over that, right?
No, you can't.
And then so from the north boats, it's the same thing. There's a lot of gravel that's already been put down. So you can drive into the next existing manhole cover, which is about 350 feet away. But between the two, there's no gravel. Okay, or very, very little gravel. It's all, if you walked over there, it's all kind of mushy and everything. So the proposal was, based on what we've seen with Lawrence Hopewell Trail, is to put boardwalk over that section rather than putting down a whole bunch more gravel and crushed stone and everything like that. And DEP is generally, they like that because it doesn't interfere with the floodplain and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Thank you. Linda, Martin, do you have questions?
I'm good. My questions were answered. Thank you.
I think I've been asking a lot of questions for the last week. And Mike's laughing. But one question would be, would you look at putting a bike rack at a couple of places here? So if somebody wanted to bike to it and then walk.
Great idea.
Um,
And Linda had a great idea too. So Linda, why don't you tell us the idea that you had that we're incorporating?
Which my idea was just about problems with maintenance and weeds.
So
And
what
weed barrier types
So
of
what
things.
Linda suggested we do, Linda was very concerned about weeds. And
Maintenance,
she told us
maintenance.
about weeds in her garden. So I spoke to Jerry. I said, Jerry, what can we do about potential weeds? So then Jerry came up with this special mat, right? That's permeable to water, but right. So it shows you, you want the bike racks, Linda wants the weeds to be taken care of so they don't grow. So, we're taking input and advice. So yes, you'll get your bike rack. It's a great idea.
the other thing would be, at this point, if you read the resolution, this is essentially a concept plan. And the administration, our professionals haven't been really involved in design yet. And once this comes back, if we do get this grant, then it'll be time for a conference for people to sit down to work out what kind of changes might be requested, whether or not, like, I do have some concerns on, do we need to go to the other side where the Jacob extension is yet? I definitely am thrilled with the idea of the phase 2 where we go to Clarksville and we now have a whole way for kids to walk across, and eventually that'll be a nice thing to have. But as far as right now, is that something we want to do? So, and especially since we're now in the middle of working on this pump station where we're going to have trucks going back and forth, probably moving things in and out. So that might be something when it's all worked out, how it goes. And then there's also, once we get the actual bids in, it could turn out that something's too expensive, something's too whatever. So I'm assuming there is a good amount of flexibility when the final design gets worked out between all the administration professionals, and then it's brought for, say, a final agreement to the council. So that one of the things that you'll be doing, I know you told me, is talking to people and getting their concerns. And I'm sure that the administration will be talking to people and getting their concerns. And I'm sure the council will be hearing because nobody's ever shy, about any concerns that people in the area might have and see what could be addressed in what way. So this is, I guess as Mike and Jerry have mentioned, this is basically an agreement for FAOS to go out and apply for a grant. And for the town, and also it's an agreement from the town saying that we agree with allowing this particular piece of property to be built on in some way to provide a path that we agree with and like the idea of the whole historical path, because I don't think we have anything in West Windsor quite like this, and I don't think we have anything dedicated yet really to the Native Americans. So this will be something new for West Windsor. But all this does at this point is says, yes, you can go get the grant. We will match the grant up to the amount that's in there, and that we will that once everybody's agreed what's to be built, that you'll be able to hire people and go and do the building. Am I describing this reasonably accurately?
Perfect.
Mike? Okay. Does anyone have any additional things that, now we're not, as I said, we don't vote until we get to the resolutions. There will be opportunity for public comment, so I don't want anybody to get nervous. But does anybody have any other comment they want to make or question before we shut this piece down?
I mean, just one comment to what Linda said. We did get certification.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Talk a little closer.
We did get certification from the CFO that the funds are available. Otherwise, nothing moves forward. So,
Right, and that's in the resolution, so that, yes, that the amount of the matching funds are available.
So just to make clear, so the audience understands, when you say CFO, it's the township CFO.
Right,
yeah.
the chief financial officer for the township.
Yes.
Before we pass any resolution, and in this case, we're not actually giving anybody the money. Usually it's an allocation where we're saying that money is available. In this case, it's in case you get the grant, he's saying that money is available. And we do need that certification whenever we do a resolution involving money.
And Andrea, just to make it clear again, that money is coming out of the open space fund,
Right.
correct?
Right, which can't be used for other than open space, maintenance of open space, or various types of developments in open space that would be approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you'd like to hang around so that you can hear the public comment, that would probably be a good idea. And I guess we can go on to the next portion, which is our affordable housing. Mayor?
Thanks. Now I really am going to speak for a long time, so. As those of you who are new haven't heard, the fourth round of affordable housing has started between 2025 and 2035. The state passed a legislation called A4, which required the towns to adopt our affordable housing obligation number. The DCA did give us a number, and it required town to adopt a resolution, either agreeing to the DCA number or to come up with a new number saying this is what we believe our obligation is. And the council is required to pass that resolution before January 31st in order to maintain immunity from builders remedy lawsuit, which is very important. So then we could keep our control. So the resolution is on the agenda tonight, and my comments pertain to that resolution, requesting the council to pass the resolution. The council did discuss that resolution in closed session at the last council meeting 15 days ago. So they have had an opportunity to look at, and that report is on the township website. But there's a report the planner prepared that will be attached to the resolution sent to the DCA, and they have had an opportunity to look at the report and ask any questions that they may have. So if you're looking for the report, you can go on the township website, and there's a present and prospective need analysis report from our planner. Um, So before I speak about our response to the DCA provided number for required affordable housing units in West Windsor during round 4, I would like to talk a little bit about affordable housing. There's nothing new that I'm going to say today that I haven't been saying for the last several years, but it bears repeating. The affordable housing requirement started under Mount Laurel because certain townships were trying to restrict people from moving into their town. West Windsor has never done that since I started paying attention to the issue, both under Mayor Shea and definitely not since I became mayor in 2017. West Windsor is one of the most progressive towns as far as offering affordable housing is concerned. And now I know, being mayor for 7 years, I know what other towns in Mercer County are doing. Until now, we have not allowed an exclusionary housing, insisting that affordable units be dispersed throughout the development. With ever increasing requirements, even the most ardent supporters of this approach have told me privately that it's time to rethink. We always insist that the developer provides same amenities to people living in affordable housing that they provide to market rate units. I have seen planning board spend significant time during the approval process to make sure that the affordable units are not treated unfairly. West Windsor has never slowed construction of affordable units. In fact, during round 3, we were one of the few townships which had fully engineered plans for each of our approved development before we went to court. And that is why we won so easily in court against all the objectors. Almost every development approved under Plan 3, under round 3, except one, has started construction and some have finished construction. You can compare that to our surrounding towns, where in certain cases, they won't even break ground for another year. There's no foot dragging in West Windsor. As the saying goes, no good deed goes unpunished. In spite of being very progressive, West Windsor has received short end of the stick during round 3 and probably earlier rounds as well. And that's easy to understand because builders like to build here. It's very easy to sell a townhouse for $1 million and make a lot of profit. This round, my approach was to do what's good for West Windsor residents while providing our share of affordable housing units to make possible for people to move in town. The best affordable housing policy is to reduce the cost of living in New Jersey, making it affordable to everyone. One of the most important components of it is to rethink how the state funds public education. However, that is heavy lifting, and the legislature would rather find an easy way out. Therefore, they passed an affordable housing legislation, Assembly Bill 4. A4 required the Division of Community Affairs, DCA, to come up with numbers for each town based on 3 factors: land capacity factor, or what is your available land; equalized residential valuation factor, that's a little more complicated; and income capacity factor. Each of the 3 factors have equal weight in which towards your affordable housing calculation. That itself doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the law. The DCA did analysis of these factors and came up with a prospective need number of 661 and present need number of 61 units for West Windsor. This is one of the highest numbers in the state and puts West Windsor among top 20 towns in New Jersey. When our planner and assessor analyzed the number, we found a number of errors in DCA calculation. Now, the income factor is based on some American survey. There's not much you can challenge because it's based on a survey. So people in town make too much money. That's our problem. But we have an excellent assessor who found an error in equalized non-residential valuation factor, which reduced our ratio from 4.42 to 3.78. And that's all in this report. Getting a little bit in the weeds, the assessor also points out that this factors affects West Windsor negatively since Mercer County is lumped in the same group with Monmouth County. Monmouth County does an annualized assessment, which keeps their ratios very high, which means their actual assessment and real assessment is very close to 100%, whereas in West Windsor and most towns in Mercer County is very low, less than 90%, in some cases less than 80%. We don't know how DCA adjusted for that while calculating share of regional non-equalized valuation change. In other words, if we were grouped differently with either other county or by Mercer County by itself, our number would have been much lower. The biggest error in DCA calculation was the land capacity factor. The DCA calculated weighted developable land area of 777.862 acres. A large part of this was our famous Atlantic Realty Bridgeport 8 warehouse site, as they considered that as available for development. After adjusting for that and a few other sites, we, our planner, calculated our developable land area as 177.521 acres. This significant change from 777.862 to 177.521 acres had an enormous impact on our affordable housing number. For the past several years, we have been having a debate about what will happen if we had not agreed to let Atlantic Realty lease the land for warehouses. The proof is in these numbers, where our developable land would have been a lot closer to 777 acres and a number of required units closer to 661. During the last round, we had an upper hand since the Atlantic Realty land was not zoned for housing. If we didn't have the foresight to lock up the land before round 4, we would have certainly been forced to rezone it for housing during current round. Then it's anyone's guess how many homes the developer would have proposed putting on the property. Would have been much harder fighting that battle. Given that our ratio of affordable housing to market rate unit is 1 to 3, or we require 25% affordable units, which is also one of the highest ratio in the state. Most towns require either 20% or 15%. The 661 units proposed by DCA would have meant a total of 2,644 new units in West Windsor. This is in addition to all the construction that is already going on in town. With the 2 corrections to the DCA number, we believe our obligation for affordable housing under the A4 legislation is 392 units, a reduction of over 40%. As relieved as I am with this reduction, this still puts us among the top 50 townships in the state. I'm requesting the council to adopt a resolution today to state our obligation for affordable housing units is 392. This is a requirement under the A4 legislation. Once the council adopts the resolution, our attorney will petition the court to give us immunity from builders' remedy lawsuits, which is essential for us to control our own destiny. However, we are not finished yet. As the resolution states, the township retains the right to conduct a vacant land analysis to determine our realistic development potential at a later date. That's the next step. We believe, although we have not done that analysis yet, we do believe that analysis may show a number to be lower than 392 number that the council will adopt today. And when we present our fair share housing plan to the court, we would have finished the vacant land analysis and we would go to the court with that number. That is expected if the current timeline holds, that is expected sometime in June of this year. Since becoming mayor in 2017, I have maintained that I was getting ready for the 4th round of affordable housing, which started this year. Because I had experience, I was on council when the 3rd round was going on and they were asking for a number of 2,000. The Fair Share Housing Center were asking for a number of 2,000, which at that time we had only 20% ratio required, which would have meant 8,000 units. So I meant what it meant for the township. This meant I had to make several hard decisions to engage the land before this round started. I have faced criticism from several people, some genuine, some political, for the decisions I have made. Those decisions allowed us to reduce our obligation from 661 to 392, which will result in reduction in total new housing from 2,644 to 1,568, a reduction of over 1,000 residences. I'm hoping that the vacant land analysis or vacant land adjustment will make that number even lower. I want to thank everyone who supported and stood by me while I made those hard decisions, both council members and residents who told me they understood why I was making the choices I was making. We are certain to face court challenges to our decision, as it's very easy to sell houses in West Windsor at great profit. We are the favorite target for developers. I'll continue to do what is right and moral for both existing residents and people looking to move into town. It's still a long game. We are probably in round 3 of this whole how we determine our number. There's still a lot of steps left, but we'll continue to play that and see what we'll end up with our number. And if any council members have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now or at the time of resolution. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't time your speech, but I just wanted to add a little clarification before we get to council questions. Just a little on the background. The way these numbers came up is the state of New Jersey came up with a complete number of prospective need for the state of 84,698. They then divided the state into a bunch of regions. We wound up in Region 4, Mercer, Monmouth, and Ocean County. And that region got a prospective need obligation of 13,822. And then the deal is the numbers divide that 13,822 amongst the 3 involved counties. And as the mayor did mention, there's 3 different numbers and it winds up being an average. So for instance, the equalized non-residential valuation, which is essentially, actually it's a rather complicated formula, but it involves the changes in non-residential property value versus the total regional change. So whatever was determined as our change in non-residential is divided by total regional. We get a percentage out of that, and that somehow leads to our percentage obligation in the first column. Then there's the land capacity factor, which is a division of the West Windsor acres that are available, divided by the total regional numbers that they've determined to be available. And that's the number that went down from something like 778 acres for us when we removed the area the mayor was talking about, down to 178 acres. And that's the second factor. And then there's an extremely complicated formula, my eyes were glazing over, on income, but the bottom line is it's how much we make, our medium income with various factors versus other medium incomes as compared to so much money under a poverty level. And in that particular case, yes, we have our medium income for this town is very high. So, and that's based on published numbers. So there wasn't really much we could do with that. These 3 numbers are now averaged. And that's how we came up with our original average allocation factor was, I think, 4.78%. And then that went down to 2.83%. And that's how we were able to, and there's all kinds of spreadsheets that the DCA puts online that everybody's welcome to play with. And that's how we came up with the new numbers. So thank you for the job that was done between the administration and the planners. I know they've been working extremely hard on it, and that publication's available. Now I'll start out with some questions. Martin, do you have any? You're good? And Linda.
No, no questions. I just want to say a few things that West Windsor is a leader in affordable housing. I think we're well known for that. And we have all types of affordable housing, from rentals to condos to houses. And we have sometimes all affordable development projects such as Project Freedom and others. So our Affordable Housing Committee has worked very hard over the years, and I've worked with them also from time to time. They work with the mayor and council to provide equity by having the affordable units distributed throughout a development, and that the affordable units are constructed with good quality materials, and that residents of the affordable units don't have any fees for amenities or other such things as indoor garbage pickup. And some of the rentals do have that indoors. And there's always a question of, could we waive that for the affordable units? So all sorts of issues like that do come up with various applications. So our present perspective need analysis, I guess as the mayor said, was done by the township planner in consultation with the land use attorney, land use manager, and the mayor. And council did discuss this document in executive session. And I find the level of detail to be substantial in the document. The methodology that the township has used is in compliance with state law. Now, we don't know if we're going to get challenged. We always seem to get challenged when it comes to a lot of affordable housing issues. However, we're using the state law, what was approved, what was signed by the governor. That's the formula that we're using. We just don't say, oh, we don't like it, we're going to just come up with our own numbers. No, that's not how it works, and that's not how it's being done here. Because if there's any legal challenges, that's a key question, that we are in compliance with the law. So, it's on the agenda tonight, and it's needed to be submitted by January 31st for the binding resolution to the state's Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program. And if we failed to do that, then we could lose immunity from exclusionary zoning litigation. So we certainly don't want that situation. If all goes well between now, by June 30th of this year, West Windsor must adopt our housing elements and fair share plans and propose drafts of the zoning and other ordinances and resolutions to implement our present and prospective obligations. So from tonight on, there's a lot of work, the next steps that have to be done by June 30th. And that will come up very quickly. And that's when you start to take a look at the numbers and then where would we put the housing. And that takes, I think, a lot of time and discussion. So we'll continue to work with our planners and the whole team, attorneys and all. So I have nothing further.
Thank you, Linda, for all that background. Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah, some comments sort of echo what Linda said, that the report that was done by our planning team was incredibly comprehensive and detailed. And it follows the formula as stated. We kind of knew that what the DCA was giving us was a little, questionable. They basically had to do these reports for every single municipality in the entire state in a very short amount of time. And at the League of Municipality Conference, they kind of admitted that they may have missed a few things, that some of the detail that they were using may be a few years old. And they encouraged the townships to take a close look at it, which is exactly what we did, which is why we discovered that not only the Atlantic Realty property, but there was a list of properties that they had included that were truly not developable, which is why we were able to reduce that number so much. So I feel that what we've produced is very easily defendable. It's based on data and real data. The other point I'd like to make out is that in addition to what the mayor said, as we do the vacant land assessment, which might provide further opportunities to reduce that number, there's the law also provides a series of credits. So at worst case, we're looking at, if we round it up to 400, 1,600 rough, houses, there are models that we could put in place that could reduce that by another 25%. Things such as 55 plus housing for disabled folks, conversion of commercial properties into residential. So there's a whole list of opportunities for us to even whittle that number down so that we'll still be able to provide our obligation and provide those opportunities for folks in the low and moderate income levels to live in this wonderful community. And in a way that doesn't put a huge burden on our infrastructure. So thank you for all the work that was done to put that detail together. As we've said, it's critical that we pass this resolution because it will protect us from being sued via an exclusionary zoning type lawsuit. That doesn't mean that developers can contest this number, but if they contest it, it has to go through the DCA and it has to be based on the data. And we're pretty confident that the data speaks for itself. So, thank you.
Thank you. Sonia?
Well, I don't have any further questions because we had a very lengthy discussion at the executive session last meeting we had. I just want to thank mayor, administration, and our planners who did a very thorough job, as my fellow colleagues have already mentioned. So I echo their point of views. And, we are very confident that the number that we are proposing is very defendable if or when, I would say, when we go to court. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Sonia. And I want to echo what my colleagues here have said, that it is, there's no guesswork here. There's no games. There's no, gee, wouldn't it be nice? That report, if you look through it, it goes inch by inch. Everything the DCA had on their maps there, they went through it and evaluated, even to the point of, well, if they are saying it's 1 acre, should it really be 0.9 acre? They went with an absolute fine tooth comb on every claim that DCA put in there, some of what, even the little tiny ones where they put something that was 20 feet wide, which really, or something that was an artifact on a map, and they found all those little ones too. They didn't just, limit for the really big one. And so I really appreciate that was done very, very properly. The amount of time and effort that everybody went into doing that. These numbers are numbers. There's a spreadsheet, and these are the facts. They go in there. This is what DCA, this is what the rules are. This is where it is. Next steps are going to be harder because there'll be decisions to be made. We know we're going to have to look at various areas. What do we want to do here? Do we want to do there? Which areas, if you're within so many feet of a train station, there's a 25%. There's a limit of 25%. They've actually pulled back on what you can do in this last bill as compared to what you were able to do before in terms of making these types of claims to get down. It's a total maximum of 25%, and no, you can't double dip. So I'm sure the administrations and our planners are going to be looking at the next set of plans with tremendous detail, and there'll be a lot of discussion on that. So thank you. And Mayor, did you have any additional comments?
Just one comment, since I was going to wait till tomorrow to post this, but since Dan mentioned you can get additional credits for converting commercial to residential, that's great because that's our choice. We get to decide what we want to do or not. But in a couple of days on Thursday, the Senate is going to consider a bill called S1408, which will define certain assets as stranded assets. So if you have a mall or office building that's not occupied more than 50%, that will be considered stranded asset, and that will give a unilateral power to that landowner to convert that into residential without adhering to any zoning laws or regulations. So that is essentially giving incentive to landlords to say that don't renew the lease, just get your site to be as dump as possible, so you can then just bypass all zoning laws to make it possible. Now, if that happens, it may take 2, 3, 4 years, and whoever is the mayor, people will go and complain to the mayor. How did you let it happen? It started now. It's starting today. So if I request you to contact your legislator to say this is nonsense, the local zoning board should be able to control how the zoning works in town. Please do, because otherwise 3 years down the line, you will be complaining to some council and some mayor that why this is happening. This is how things are done in Trenton, and that's unfortunate. And I brought it up only because he mentioned the special credit. I would love to take special credit, but that will be my choice, not choice of the developer. I mean, we're not in business to guarantee them a return on the investment. I mean, they did that and economy changed. I mean, that's not a resident's fault that they need to make some money. So
Thank you, Mayor. There's rampant opportunity for abuse by developers and something like that that would take away with the right of local zoning. Okay, well, moving out of the special presentations, I'm going to open public comment, which is a 3-minute limit per person. And I want to remind everybody that this is the only public comment before we'll be taking actual votes on both these and any of the resolutions, and also on the one ordinance that we're going to be introducing. So this will be, there will be a second public comment, but that would be after any voting action. So if you do want to speak on any of these items before the vote, now is the time. So I'm opening public comment now. So if anybody on the
I
list
do have
first.
a list. I have Ann.
At this point, we don't usually respond to public comment while people are talking. If you, you'll ask some questions, and then at the end of it, we can see what the questions are, and the council might be able to, might ask you some questions on it. Okay, we'll take some notes. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I have Ann Clifton.
Good evening. Ann Clifton, 18 Galston Drive, speaking on behalf. Ann Clifton, 18 Galston Drive, speaking on behalf of the board of the West Windsor Bicycle and Pedestrian Alliance in support of the proposed Moses Tunda Tatami Trail. Just to reiterate some of what Mike Schuett and Jerry Foster said, this trail has been part of the West Windsor Township circulation element of the master plan for years and part of a Greater Mercer Regional Trail Plan. The West Windsor Bicycle and Pedestrian Alliance supports trails that connects neighborhoods and communities, recreation, and ways around. This Moses Tunda Tatami Trail, with a terminus at Penn Lyle Road, provides easy access to the trolley line trail, especially as sidewalks already exist on Penn Lyle Road. Making the trail more accessible allows more residents to enjoy the trail. If Friends of West Windsor Open Space gets the green light to submit a Green Acres application, an application for the Green Acres grant, the West Windsor Bicycle and Pedestrian Alliance will send a letter to New Jersey DEP in support of the trail. Thank you.
Becky Marks.
Hello, Becky Marks, 28 Westminster Court. Thank you for opening up the public comment. I am here on behalf of FOOS. I've been a longtime trustee and the assistant secretary right now. As Mike mentioned, the town has preserved 50% of our open space, or of our 50% is preserved. So us and FOOS have been thinking, how do we continue to support the town? And so we've looked at the options and the land, and this trail, I think, gives a combination of something that's already been in the works, as well as history and opening the eyes of the public to both the beautiful forest that we've thankfully preserved, as well as the history of our town. I think to address Councilwoman Jeever's point of the rush here, as a mom who has 2,000 emails that I don't read all the time, I also am with you. This came around very quickly, and it's because there is a deadline on the grant. And I just want to remind us that there's a lot of work to be done. This is all just a concept plan. And really what we're talking about tonight is giving us the green light to go forward to actually just try to get the money. And then there'll be a ton of work to be done that nobody's, holding a light underneath of us that it has to be done, but at least we'll have gotten the funds and given the opportunity for the township to have something that we don't have to fully fund. So I am here to lend my support to the resolution. And as a side, I do want to thank you, Mayor, for your foresight and your presentation on the affordable housing. I think everybody in West Windsor wants there to be affordable housing, but we don't necessarily need it to change the fabric of our town. So thank you for the help protecting that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next.
Diane Hassling.
Diane Hassling, 12 Jacob Drive, West Windsor. I appreciate all the work that FOAS does. However, I have concerns about the obligations the township may incur in being the backer of the 50% match on this application, as well as the process used in creating the proposal. Could there be an obligation for more than the almost $290K from West Windsor if the state doesn't provide their entire promised amount, or if the final project cost is higher than the proposed estimate? Does the plan submitted for the award have to be followed? There's comments tonight that it's just conceptual. Even some of the FOAS members seem to have reservations about the actual trail details when they voted at the public hearing. I feel the 10-foot width for a trail, a 350-foot bridge, and apparently boardwalk, and 2 flashing crosswalks are excessive for a trail to showcase the beauty of nature and the path Native Americans may have followed. I imagine the township may have many higher priority requests for 2 flashing crosswalks. If the award is granted, I'd hate to have us lock into this plan. I note that the Green Acres Stewardship application states, quote, applicants that significantly reduce the scope of their project after funding has been awarded will be asked to withdraw and reapply in a future funding round. So I don't know what that means for changes. The process appears to have been so rushed that I fear many residents aren't yet aware of the plan to comment on it. I received an email on January 13th sent to FOA supporters, since I am one, not an official notice to residents near the trail. Details about the plan were only added to the website on January 21st, 2 days before the public hearing last week. I don't view this as sufficient opportunity for nearby residents to learn about the plan, even less to be able to talk as a community or consider it in depth. I can't imagine that township professional staff members have had sufficient time to review the plan either to determine the township's obligations. Both the path through the woods and the Jacob Drive Extension Road that comprise this plan already exist for people to experience those areas now. It might be nice to refine those in some way and add historical markers, but I don't see the urgency in submitting a plan with unknowns, concerns, and little real review in order to meet an award deadline this February. I think it would be more responsible to ensure the community has been engaged, the plan is a good one, costs are accurate as possible, the plan and costs have been reviewed carefully by all relevant parties, all impacted by the plan have an opportunity for input, and a sense of usage of the trail can be determined, and then consider applying for a grant like this. If after this due diligence, it may also be found that there are better uses for the West Windsor Open Space Funds. Thus, I believe it is too early for council to support a resolution to co-fund this proposal tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian Ma.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Ian Maughan, and I reside at 119 North Post Road. Now, North Post Road, that is really on the Jacob Extension Drive, if you will, as are the 3 properties. I'm now retired, but I spent 34 years at Rutgers University in a variety of positions, from professor to dean to executive dean, and as the executive director of the New Jersey Ag Experiment Station. After I retired in 2003, I immediately left Rutgers and joined what was then the National Association of Public and Land Grant Universities. I intended to spend 5 years there, but ended up spending 19. My role there was as Vice President of Food, Ag, and Natural Resources, working with the 234 state universities across the country, working on policies, derivatives, and programs. So I do know a little bit about this kind of thing, having spent time at Rutgers as chair of the Environmental Science Department as well. I hold a PhD from Penn State University, and an honorary degree from the National University of Life Sciences and Environmental Sciences of the Ukraine. I moved to West Windsor in 2007, shortly after I joined Rutgers. And I often long all this time from 2070 to date, I've been most of the time a resident here in West Windsor. In 1985, I bought a piece of land that was subdivided from the property that goes from North Post Road down to the pump station. That road is really over the sewer line that was put in the 1970s, as you're all well aware of. This plan, as I look at it, has some merit, no question about it. Let me raise 2 points. Number one, I am not against trails or open hiking. I did an awful lot of that as a youth and as a college student in central Pennsylvania, hiking the Allegheny Mountains and those trails. I can appreciate that. I've experienced myself and gained a lot from it. So I'm certainly in favor of that from a health perspective and a wellness perspective, and from just the beauty that those trails can provide to the surrounding area and the people that live in those areas. There's no question about that. The second point is, while I have no objection to it, I'm curious about the history that goes back into in terms of the naming of this trail. There's no question that this individual was indeed very important to the work of the Lenape Indians and was indeed a leader in that regard. However, in the brief time that I've had a chance to look at the history.
Please finish up your thoughts.
Okay, I'd be happy to. I find little evidence, substantive evidence, to suggest that indeed he was really a resident of this area, other than some curious notations. Therefore, I think, while that's good and well, and we ought to recognize our indigenous population, I'm not sure this is the best way to do it in this regard. Jacob Drive Extension is one road. It is a narrow road. It is not conducive to have either vehicles and pedestrians on it at the same time. It just doesn't work that way. It is dangerous. When we built those houses there, we did not put an additional cut into North Post Road because Elmer Bergman said, no, we don't need to do it. We'll use that road.
Okay,
And
thank
that
you
was
for
a
your
good
thoughts,
thing.
sir. All right,
But-
we're at our 3 minutes.
To move ahead with this is risks to everybody who wants to use that trail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Rebecca Malin.
Thank you to the council. My name is Rebecca Allen. I live at 117 North Post Road. And I want to just thank you for having the chance to speak tonight. I'm an educator, classroom teacher for 20 years. My husband is a professor at Rutgers. We have 5 kids. We love this community. We've been here for about 4.5 years. So we have enjoyed our time. We have concerns about this proposal for the trail. The first being, as an educator looking at a nod to the indigenous people who live here, there didn't seem sufficient evidence that this is something that was consulted with Lenape Tribal Council. There didn't seem to be a lot of research behind that. So we, want to make sure that we're doing this in an appropriate way. Second, safety. Being boots on the ground on that Jacob Extension Road, it's a very narrow section of drive, the part that is paved. You cannot fit 2 cars down that at the same time. And you can ask many of my children who walk in the grass on those sides, they've lost several shoes in that because it's mucky and gross. So the concern of safety of 2 cars on there is problematic. And then you're asking to put pedestrians on that walkway as well. It doesn't seem safe at all. Additionally, the idea for the crosswalk would not be at the corner of Jacob and North Post. It would come down a little bit. And when you do that, there's actually no way to get onto the path from Birchwood Estates. So it's unless you use the already constructed paths that people have created themselves through the trails back there. So that is a problematic piece as well to this plan. It would be very dangerous for people crossing because inevitably people would have to cross North Post, not at the crosswalk, to actually access the trail. That's very problematic. And the cost, we have a preliminary cost here, but I can foresee already the gravel that they're talking about laying down would be at not the nice walkable gravel, but the gravel underneath that you're actually going to have to do construction to level where it is on the road. That's going to be additional cost. We're talking about a parking lot, perhaps. That's going to be additional cost. So I'm worried that while in concept, my husband's an exercise physiologist. We want to get people outside. We want to get them moving. I'm an educator. We want to educate people. I'm not sure that this proposal really kind of supports those pieces. I think we need something more in depth. The timelines seem very short. We just found out about this last week. So I would, oppose this at the moment, but let's keep looking at it. Let's keep talking about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Warren Mitlack.
I'm Warren Metlack. I live at 5 Stoneleigh Drive in West Windsor. I want to thank Friends of West Windsor Open Space, Mike Schuett and Jerry for presenting tonight. One of the things I really like about this town is how easy it is to be outside in this town. And I don't know all the details about what the last few speakers were speaking about, but in general, I think it's great to build trails in the town. Another comment I just wanted to make on the affordable housing. The number that you guys presented seems like, we can stay with that number, hopefully. But when you multiply it by 4 with the assumption that you're always going to be having to do the 3 to 1, I hope you guys will consider other alternatives for that. For example, 100% affordable or accessory dwelling units, things that other towns have done to limit the amount of extra housing that has to be built to meet our obligation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike Schuett.
Thank you. I just wanted to address some of the comments that were made already. And I just want to say that I had the pleasure of going out the other day with Becky, and we'll speak about a half hour, talking about the plan. So I just want to make one thing clear. The Jacob Drive extension portion is equivalent to a dead end. There's no amount of traffic there. You have 3 houses using it to get onto North Post Road. So what's been created here is this feeling that it's a main thoroughfare. It's equivalent to a dead end. And the other thing I want to address, it was said earlier in the comments about how this has been popped on to the public. Well, FOAS has been talking about this for a year, and we have minutes to reflect that. Some of the people said they didn't have any notice about it. Get our emails. They see our minutes. So we've been discussing this for a year. So the idea that this has been sprung on to the Birchwood State neighborhood is just factually incorrect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Next.
Paul Murphy.
Paul Murphy, 15 Lorry Lane, West Windsor. When we moved to West Windsor in 1977, this was largely an agricultural wasteland with little history behind it except a Martian invasion that didn't happen at the railroad station. Thanks to the Historical Society, the Friends of West Windsor Open Space, and several scout troops, we've done an excellent job of documenting the history of the township from the 17th and 18th century founding by Europeans. But before that, the history seems to be pretty much blank. We know very little about the people that preceded us, the Native Indians. I'm sorry, that's Eastern Indians. they are largely invisible to us. I believe the installation of the Tatami swamp will be an important first step in rectifying that gap and can help bring the history of the Lenape tribes alive to many schools students here. The trail's ties to Moses Tatami seem to be pretty well established. Fortunately, the ground itself is owned by the township and it's already designated as open space. It appears that the development of the township of the trail will involve very little disruption to surrounding areas. My own neighborhood, Birchwood Estates, is about maybe 100 feet. The houses on Birchwood are about 100 feet from the trail. So I don't think, and it's well shielded by trees. I don't think there'll be any major disruption to them. And I think the project virtually has no downside that I can see, except perhaps cost. I strongly recommend the implementation of this resolution, as I think it'll provide an important insight into the peoples who preceded us, which is could be an important historical resource to our school children and us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Terza Warman. Allison, you want to? Oh, yeah. You want to go? Oh, sure. Do you want to? Sure.
Good evening, Terza Warman, 5 Stoneleigh Drive. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. Special shout out to Mike Shuett, because I sat literally around the corner from him in the Attorney General's office for several years, and I know how instrumental he's been in preserving open space in our community. So how lucky are we that he continues to be such a resource? So I'm not totally familiar with the details of the proposed Tamami Trail, but I also love open space. I'm a biker and a hiker, you know, not up to Mount Everest or anything, but, you know, hiking around town and New Hope and places like that. So in concept, I think it's terrific. I do want to point out on the affordable housing numbers, respectfully, Mayor, the Atlantic Realty project, the Bridgepoint site, is in deep trouble. It is in litigation now. The Watershed Institute, and they had appeared here at Town Council and in the Planning Board, spoke directly in opposition to the plan, based on the fact that the Planning Board at the time did rely on flood maps that dated back to 1999. They came out against the plan. And then when DEP approved the flood hazard area permit last year, they filed suit, and their lawsuit is pending in the appellate division. So just query, are we jumping the gun in terms of saying that those 650 acres that we took out of the housing calculation will stay out of the calculation? I wonder, because I think that Bridgepoint / Atlantic Realty has a long, long way to get all the permits they need. And I know, yeah, I am one of many residents who was opposed to the project. And I am among those supporting a petition that will be presented to DEP. And our residents' petition is to insist that the 2023 flood maps be imposed on that site. And if that happens, we have been told by DEP that the 7 warehouses, which will bring 8,760 trucks per day into our community. That's right, 8,760 trucks per day into our community, that plan would not be approved under the new flood maps. So whatever will happen on the Atlantic Realty / Bridgepoint site may not be the 7 warehouses that people think may be going forward. It's just something to consider. And just very briefly, we have posted our.
President's wrong, if
I
you could finish up.
understand.
Thank you.
Take another second. The residents petition is posted on my Facebook page, also in WW Peeps. It is still timely for residents to sign, and our request is simple, that the 2023 flood maps be applied to that site, not the 1999 flood maps, because all these
Thank you.
wonderful trails we're talking about are going to be in danger if we are inundated with flood, which is a distinct possibility. Thank you.
All right, next we're going down the list here of the sign-in sheet. Diane Newman. Oh, Allison, you want to go next? Mike, could you hand her the microphone? Thanks.
Mike will hand her the mic.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I'd like, first of all, to commend the mayor and everybody on the team that went through the affordable housing numbers so meticulously and carefully. And I know if there's any other things that they have to do to those numbers, they will be equally meticulous and careful. And that makes me feel good. But I do have something to say to Linda. No, we are not famous in the affordable housing, whatever you want to call it. I go to a lot of Zoom meetings and we're never mentioned. Our 25% set aside is never mentioned, although I always write it in. We're not appreciated. We should be appreciated because of the good things that we do. I also respectfully disagree with one of my neighbors. I would hope that we could do our affordable housing without 100% affordable housing, unless it's a very small project and a very special project. But people are people in West Windsor, no matter what their income is, and I think they should all live together. And as for the Tatamy Trail, we thought of that must have been in 2011 or so, after we purchased what was then the Jewish community front area. And we said, there's nothing else to be purchased. What shall we do? And we thought of this trail. Other things got in the way, but there were 2 or 3 of us who didn't give up the idea of this trail. And I just want to remind you of those of us who can walk but need help. And there are quite a few of us, actually. And if we get what we're asking DEP for, and we make this trail, I'll actually be able to walk on it, as I cannot now. I mean, I hope within a year everything will be better, but not counting on it. So just remember those of us who need special help when you're talking about the trail. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Allison.
Thank
Could you
you,
just
Allison.
finish up with your name and address for the record?
Allison Miller, 41 Windsor Drive.
Thank you.
We know your natural voice, Allison.
Thanks, Mike. Next on the list is Diane Newman.
Diane Newman, 234 Windsor Court in Ewing. I'm reading this on behalf of Paul Leggetti, who's the president of the West Windsor Historical Society, who could not be here tonight. So these are all his words here. For around 12,000 years, New Jersey has been home to a Native American society called the Lenape. The Lenape tribe in the West Windsor area also was known as the Assapigs. They had a unique and meaningful history and cultures distinct from any West Windsor today. Regrettably, colonists drove the Lenape out of the West Windsor area by the early 1700s. Again, the Lenape lived in the area for around 12,000 years. That's over 50 times as long as West Windsor has existed. Yet no significant memorial to the Lenape exists within our town's borders. The proposed trail would, very meaningfully, elevate the incredibly long and diverse history of our town's original residents and the story of Moses Tunda Tatami, one of the most influential Lenape of all time. Moses Tunda Tatami is referenced in many centuries-old deeds overlapping the present trail. He took part in some of the most significant land treaties in Lenape history, including the infamous walking purchase of 1737 that robbed the Lenape of over 1 million acres in Pennsylvania, and the Treaty of Easton that established the first ever Native American reservation in the United States. Tatami was a translator, a missionary, a diplomat, and most importantly, a bridge between his people and the colonists. In fact, he has such importance that a Pennsylvania borough is named after him. I emphasize that no other area in West Windsor has such ties to Tatami. Yet there are nearby walking trails, but none of them substantially overlap Tatami's territory, if they overlap at all. West Windsor is very visibly celebrates its diversity, yet we will never be fully inclusive without significant recognition of the Lenape's 12,000-year history and the story of one of its most famous historical figures and his ties to our town. The proposed trail and its interpretive signage may be one of our best opportunities ever to fill in this gap. It would also teach kids and adults about critical elements of Indigenous history and may inspire them to more broadly explore history and value other cultural perspectives and histories. Paul says, thank you for your consideration. And just as an added note, I have walked the trail as well. I have 2 knee replacements and a bad hip. And I concur with Allison, it would be much easier with a more even surface. On another note, I happen to have raised my kids in Mahwah, New Jersey, which is Lenape territory. There is an elementary school called Lenape Meadows, and that's about it that I ever knew of the history. There's just nothing out there recognizing them. And to bring the history into West Windsor, as they should do in Mahwah, would be just beneficial for the kids in the community. I wish my kids had experienced that other than just the elementary school that it was named after. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Okay, Frank Lavadera.
Good evening. My name is Frank Lavadera, 4 Wynwood Drive. And I also am the treasurer of the FOOS, just let you know about that. First, I'd like to thank everyone for their consideration of this, what I view as a tremendous opportunity for our community. And I think it's been said by many people. And I also understand that there are many questions. And Linda, in my role as treasurer, the amount of time and effort that has gone into this is significant. Not every question has been answered, but many of them have. And Mike thanks me for asking the question so that he could be prepared for this conversation today as well. It is a concept, and it's a good one, and it is well-reasoned, spent a lot of time in terms of the financial aspects and considerations, and there is yet a lot to be done. We're asking for approval of the concept to be able to request from the state the matching grant. And we will monitor this carefully and jump through all the hoops as are necessary in order for us to complete this in
in a very reasonable and responsible manner. In terms of the affordable housing, Mayor, thank you for the explanation. It's not something that I'm really familiar with, and I was very pleased to hear that the allocation of the warehouse section was taken off, and that is a benefit. I also do want to say, however, warehouses are not a panacea either, and I understand the difficult choices that go into it, and very difficult, but good to get some additional information and understanding on those decisions that are being made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak?
Got a list here still?
Oh, we're
Okay.
still on the
One,
list.
2, 3, 4, 5 more people on the list.
Okay.
Okay, so going in order, Eric Levine.
Hi, I'm Eric Levine. I live at 115 North Post Road, which is one of the 3 houses that Ian Moore and Becky Mallon we talked about. I lived there for about 22 years, 25 years, I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of FOAS. In fact, my kids, my wife helped plant those trees that are in the open space now. When they were in the little cones, they were the saplings going back, again, 20-something years. So, you know, I'm not against trails, but when I notice people that are getting up to speak in favor of the proposal and they tell their addresses and I look them up on Google Maps, nobody lives anywhere near those trails. Okay? We're the 3 houses that are most affected by those trails. That road that runs to my driveway and to Ian's and Becky's driveway, it should be a dead end. It is a dead end, but constantly there are cars on that road. And we definitely don't want to be adding traffic to that. I have a Ring camera pointed over my garage. So anybody who wants to come and see how many cars come up there, whether they be delivery trucks, people who get lost making U-turns in my driveway. It's a constant thing. And you're absolutely right. It shouldn't be that. It's a dead end, but it is that way. So from a safety standpoint, from a from the traffic standpoint, I want to be for the trail. Like I said, I'm a fan of FOAS, but just from this standpoint, from people who live there, it's just not something that we could support. So I stand in opposition with my neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Josh Mandel.
Good evening. My name is Josh Mandel. I live at 112 Biscayne Court, and I'm a member of the board of the Historical Society of West Windsor. And we're very grateful for everything that the township does to help the Historical Society fulfill its mission. I moved to West Windsor for my wife's career a few years ago, but it didn't take me long to develop a strong attachment to this community. And 3 of the things that I love most about West Windsor are its beautiful open spaces, the easy access to outdoor recreation, and its fascinating history. And I was very excited when I learned about the Tatami Trail project, which combines all 3 of these things. I want to commend FOAS for their vision and all their work in preparing the application for this grant. The Historical Society sees this trail as a unique opportunity to share the history of West Windsor's first residents, the Lenni Lenape, and we look forward to consulting on the educational component of the project. And I encourage you to vote in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kevin Applegate.
Yes, Kevin Applegate, 135 Conover Road, and I'm the chief of the West Windsor Volunteer Fire Company, and I'm here to speak tonight in support of the approval of Resolution 2025 R47 for the replacement of our Rescue 43 apparatus. The current piece of apparatus was originally acquired in 1991 and has served this township faithfully for 34 years. Coincidentally, that was around the same time that I joined the fire company. This truck was originally anticipated to be replaced in 2020 and we are unfortunately behind in its replacement. The proposed truck is substantially similar with updated equipment and will make it more useful to us. I do want to note that it will take up to 2 years to deliver the new apparatus based on current manufacturer lead times, so I ask that we move forward with this tonight. We've had several recent issues with the current Rescue 43, given its age, and will be limping it to the finish line until the new truck is hopefully received. I do have one other comment as well regarding the proposed trail. As a lifelong resident and someone who was a former trustee of FOOS, as well as someone who has built a number of trails on a lot of the open space in town, accessible trails are of a limited resource in this town. We basically have Mercer County Park to the south and the canal to the north. There's really not much in between. I personally live adjacent to Mercer County Park, which is a very heavily used trail system of regional importance. And I see this proposal by FOOS as a local draw, something that's not going to be a giant regional resource that could be very beneficial to the residents that live around it. I myself have 3 daughters and lead hikes with them with their Girl Scout troop. So I see this as something that, people that live in the immediate area of this trail could utilize. So I urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, 2 more on the list. Michael Walsh.
Good evening, Michael Welsh, 20 Birchwood Court in West Windsor. Been a resident for 26 years. Heartfelt thanks to everyone on council and FOAS for all the work you do. I know it seems trite, but believe me, it is appreciated. And lots of people don't take the time to say that. I'm speaking for them as well. So thank you. My concerns with the trail are severalfold. We have numerous competing options. As Kevin just mentioned, we've got Mercer County Park, which has paved and unpaved trails. We've got paved trails underneath the power lines that run through the Penn Lyle section. We've also got trails through the woods behind the baseball field that it was handled by the Boy Scouts. There's signage there. And the young man who took care of that drew everything out on a map so people can walk through there and know where they're going. Why can't we do the same instead of paving and disturbing nature with the Tatami Trail? Why can't we just do the signage, appreciate the Indian history? I am concerned about the ongoing cost. There's a lot of trees there. What happens when they fall? Is the town going to take care of it? Is that another taxpayer burden for us? And even though there'll be mesh underneath the gravel, anybody who's done gardening in their yard knows that that mesh works for a year, maybe 2 if you're lucky. But those weeds, they just find a way to pop up. So who's going to take care of the trail? Who's going to take care of the litter? Is that another taxpayer expense? I have big concerns about the flooding on Post Road. The drainage ditches that are on the far side of Post Road are always filled with water. So if we're going to have a trail there, how far is it going to be? And is it going to be dry and safe? The blinking lights on Post Road, let's face it, that's not going to work. Too many people don't stop as it is now at traffic lights. The blinking lights are going to be a hazard. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of people walking on the trail. Those of us who live in the neighborhood walk it now. I walk the trails. I walk every day, regardless of the cold, the rain. It doesn't matter. Again, just think about what is being requested here, and let's make sure that this is the best use of the town's money as well as FOAS's money. If there are better options, then let's look at those too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eileen Dube.
Is this? Oh, you could just tilt it towards you. There you go. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oops.
Or you can pick it up.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. Great, thank you. Eileen Dube, 11 Meadow Run Road, and it's great to see so many of my Birchwood Estates neighbors here. We have a fabulous neighborhood. Mayor Marate, you may be our wonderful West Windsor mayor, but Diane Hassling is the mayor of Birchwood Estates. She takes great care of our neighborhood, and she's why we're such a great community. For decades, I've been lucky to have the magical experience of walking the woods that tonight we're referring to as the Moses Tunda Tatami Trail. I've watched great blue herons nest. I've seen their offspring learn to fly. Alone in the woods, I've played echo with a barred owl. And I probably hear some of the same birds that Moses Tunda Tatami heard singing. In the winter, I see snow falling on colonies of club moss. In the spring, I'm excited to see native skunk cabbages, trout lilies, and jack-in-the-pulpit. When I post photos of the fall foliage, people always ask, are you in Vermont? Well, I've had this private paradise, this Vermont and New Jersey, to myself. I'm eager for others to enjoy it. And as Allison pointed out, to make it accessible. I envision folks in the hood, dog walkers, those out for a postprandial stroll. And as some of you have noted, we're fortunate to live in an area where there are a multitude of trails. I dream of the day when all these trails will be connected and we can visit neighbors without having to get in our cars. As for cars, I can't imagine that many will come by car for a 1-mile trail, as evidenced by other local trails. I think Sonia mentioned that. I'm so thankful to the Bike and Pedestrian Alliance, the Historical Society, and to FOOS for creating this concept plan, to the mayor and council for considering it, and to everyone who has shared ideas and concerns, because with these wonderful concerns come ideas of how to build an amenity that will meet the needs of everyone. And I just want to point out that I'm not sure if it's up yet, but tomorrow on the FOOS website, Paul Ligety made a little 3-minute video about the history of Moses Tunda Tatami. It's a great little video, and Paul, I mean, he's young, he's energetic, and he just it's great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the list?
No one else is on the list.
Okay, would anybody else? Yes.
Sylvia Ascarelli, 27 Melville Road. I'm in favor of this concept of a trail and of giving the public better access to land it owns. I do appreciate the concerns of those who live on Jacob Drive and nearby about the changes that the Tatami Trail could bring for them that they've expressed today and at last week's hearing. But as someone who lives 4 houses down from another trail, the entrance to the Millstone Trail, I'd like to share my experiences. In terms of extra parking and traffic on Melville Road because of the trail, it's really practically non-existent. This trail is a local trail, just like the Tatami Trail would be. And you know what? Of course, people have the right to park on public streets. There's also a parking lot at the other end of the trail on Millstone Road, and I rarely see cars there. Again, this is a trail that serves local residents. It's not one that people travel far and wide to. We do have neighbors who are very close to the trail, much closer than those on Jacob Drive. One is separated by a chain link fence and some plantings. We don't hear complaints. There is no discussion of crime. And trust me, if that was the case, we would be hearing about it in the neighborhood chat. I'd say the same thing, frankly, about the trolley line trail, where it's interesting to see how people have created their own private access points by mowing the grass so they can get from their property easily to the trolley line trail. Again, all these homes are much closer to trails than the Jacob Drive residents would be. That was clear to me as I walked on the trail because I was curious on Sunday afternoon. The homes and the property lines are so far back, buffered by trees, that even in winter, you can't really see much of anything. Can't see in their homes. And so imagine what it's like when the leaves are out, you really won't see anything. But for those who are worried about privacy, you can come to my house and take as much forsythia as you like, and you can plant it in your yard, not on the public side. But I also would suggest that you then consider keeping the trail, assigning the trail that is only open from dawn to dusk to alleviate some of the concerns. I do also suggest adding another rapid flashing beacon on Jacob Drive to address the safety concerns of those who say it's hard, would be hard then to cross to the Jacob Drive extension. I don't feel that rapid flashing beacons of flashing lights detract at all from the nature of, from the beauty of the nature there. And finally, I do appreciate all the maintenance that FOOS has been doing in recent years to keep our trails clear. Just come walk on my trail and you'll see what a great job they've done. On the affordable housing component, if I can just have 30 seconds, could you
Finish up
just
your
give us
thoughts?
a sense of the breakdown on the percentage of moderate income versus low income versus very low income, and the income levels for one person or four-person families, just so everybody has a sense of what affordable housing means? I think sometimes people think it just means projects in Trenton. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to come up to give public comment?
Jerry Foster, 15 Suffolk End. I'd just like to address the design of the crossings at Jacob Drive or mid-block. It was chosen to be mid-block for two particular reasons. One is so that we could run the trail connection from where it crosses there over to the Jacob Drive extension on the other side of the road, which if I had my direction, the wits around me, I could tell you which side it is. But anyway, on the side away from the Birchwood Court neighborhood. Also, the Birchwood Court neighborhood has one house that's on North Post Road. Maybe their owner is here. And if we ran a trail along there, then it would be right through their two sections of their driveway. In addition, there were a whole bunch of mature trees that have not been trimmed because on the Birchwood Court side of North Post, there's no power lines. So they haven't been maintained by trimming trees. On the other side, there is power lines. And so the trees are gone because they do the maintenance to make sure they're trimmed down. So it would be easier. It was easier to look at making the mid-block crossing with the blinky light. To the point of crossings, I hope we're beyond the point of will people stop for blinky lights? Because I think the evidence is very good that they do if they can see them. We have blinky lights across the trail crossings in other places in West Windsor. Rabbit Hill Road particularly is the newest one, South Mill Road, where there's sight lines where you can actually see the lights blinking. People are very good about crossing, about stopping for people crossing. Where you can't see them, like at Sherbrooke and 571, it's a different story. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have anybody else that would like to get up and give public comment who has not spoken? Seeing none, I will close the public comment. And I will ask, I guess, first the mayor to perhaps answer questions.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah, I'll just,
Just so I can, my notes, I've taking down what I'm looking at. Anybody can add for me as what the questions are. There are questions about the cost of this and overruns to the cost. There are questions on the safety, particularly on the Jacob Drive extension side. There are questions about the tribal evidence not being sufficient. I know a few people have gotten up and said something about that, but we can always ask for a definitive answer. Somebody asked, can we make changes? How much changes can we actually make after? And I think I mentioned the cost of the maintenance of the trails. You
I
can't
can't
hear that.
remember more than 3 at a time, so if I don't
Well,
answer.
give me yours and, yeah,
you
those,
ask.
and some of those could possibly be done all together, so.
I will answer as many as I remember, then you tell me about things that I didn't answer. So first I remember the Jacob Drive extension. Mr. Levine, if you saw a Tesla, I did drive there today, but I just to see what's back in there. but I can't imagine. I mean, I've been here 30 plus years, the first time I went there. So I don't know why people drive there, but if it would help, I can look into putting a dead end sign or local access only sign there. I can't imagine why people would drive there. It doesn't show on Google Maps or anything. Yeah, I know. I mean, people do crazy things. I know that. I mean, I don't have any control, but if it would help, I can easily look into putting a dead end sign or no exit sign or something like that. I've seen that.
Mayor,
many
what, could we
places.
put a no,
No
not-
access sign.
no motor vehicles pass there except authorized vehicle sign?
Yeah.
That,
We can.
I think that would be better than.
I mean, I'm surprised to hear. So, okay.
Hmm.
So that's about the tension. You asked about cost overruns. I really don't know. That's a question for you. I mean, there can't be cost overruns. You have done the estimate based on realistic costs. So, again, the money is money. We have always managed to purchase every open space that's on our list when it becomes available, and in some cases, going to court and condemning it, just like the Hall Farm. So we have managed our money well. Every year we collect every penny in taxes is roughly $600,000. So we collect that every year. Plus we continue to get um, reimbursement from the state for something Mayor Shea did 15 years ago. I mean, we just got $700,000 2 weeks ago for I don't know what year the property was bought. So
I think part of the question was about who's going to pay. At this point, our resolution only limits to the matching amount that's requested in the grant. So if we had to put any more money in, they would have to come back to the council and ask for more money, or the other option would be to limit the project in some way that would limit it to the costs of the grant and where our matching is. Is that
right? I mean, you probably know, but I can't spend a single penny unless it's on the agenda, some agenda somewhere. So I can't spend any more money unless they tell me you can spend the money. So if the project does run over, you will have to come back, convince the council to give you additional money. But we would make sure before the project starts that it is within reasonable plus or minus. Of course, I mean, you don't know if the inflation becomes too high suddenly, but this is a relatively short project. It's not 6 months, you will know, right? One way or the other. So it's not like we are planning 3 years in future. So, I mean, we should have fairly good visibility a year in future now that inflation is moderated. So, but if it does come to that, then we'll have to come back to the council, and then council will have another decision on their hand, whether to do that or not.
let's see. As far as can we make changes, maybe Mike can answer this. And please come up to the mic. Thank you. At this point, we're talking about how there's going to be conferences between you and between the mayor. You're going to be, and we are going to be talking to people, and there might be some changes made. So would that impact the grant? At what point would that totally make the grant go away if we made some changes?
That's what I'd say about the grant and what we proposed. I am not that concerned that there's going to be many changes. And let me tell you why. We put together, is such a great team putting this together. We've had 2 CPAs working on this. We have 2 people who have extensive work and knowledge in developing trails, including trails right here in Mercer County. We have, including myself, we have 2 attorneys and my friend Frank. You're a CPA too, right, Frank? Excuse me, just an accountant. Okay, sorry. And then I have 35 years of experience as a deputy attorney general with the exact type of permits we need here. And also, what most applicants don't do, I have already met with DEP, with the permitting people, to see how realistic our concept is in proceeding and the costs. So yes, there could be some changes, but I am confident based on the team that we put together, their experience, my meeting already with DEP, I don't see much of changes in the plan.
Okay, when you, go ahead.
When you submit the final application, can you send a copy to the council and me,
course.
whatever exactly what you
Yes.
submit?
But the question becomes, if this comes in, it goes to engineering for whatever reason, we decide we don't want to put something across the road, or we don't want to do something else, that the town makes the decision that there is something that we want to change.
You're making a very good point.
Then is that going to be something where you're going to say, then I'm going to lose the grant, or is that something where we can work together? And that, I think that is the question.
So the question is, you're saying based on
Whatever,
engineering, safety concerns with
Say
crossings,
whatever.
whether DEP will have a problem with that, and the answer is no.
So then we would have that freedom to work together to do that.
I
And
just want to emphasize that I've met with some of the objectors, and I've told them, and I'll tell in public, that we're gonna work with them and address their concerns, especially with signage. So we're gonna incorporate as many people into this process, and just because we do get awarded, it doesn't mean that we're gonna abandon input from the public.
Mayor, is there any chance we could put a sign trying to limit that traffic now? I mean, it's a problem now.
I'll check with Francis tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. So, and I think there was a question on the cost of maintenance, who is going to be doing, why don't you start? Well, okay, you start.
So I apologize to everybody that I wasn't more specific about the maintenance. So as far as the maintenance goes, as many of you know, the Friends of West Windsor Open Space are part of the state Clean Streets program, and we implement that on behalf of West Windsor. So what we do, we go around, pick up litter, and we get paid for picking up the litter. And it comes back into FOAs. For instance, this weekend, we walked the trail and we picked up some litter. And that's what's going to happen here. We're going to be taking care of the maintenance. And we have Jerry and Henry Murphy, and they've taken care of the maintenance for over 12 miles of trails already in West Windsor. So as far as the maintenance of the trails go, we know what we're doing. We've been doing it.
Will that include weeding?
No, we're leaving the weeding. We're leaving the weeding to Linda, so she's taking a good job.
Linda's good at it, but her knees, I have to worry about.
Professional grade stuff.
And, okay, so you're going to do general trail maintenance, and that would include, I know Henry does go out and cut up logs that might fall down and stuff like that, but yeah. But Mayor, did you want to comment on what maintenance the town might wind up doing? For instance, if those stones get blended in a little bit and they have to be replaced or things like that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever needs to be fixed, so we'll fix it, but this is, we'll fix whatever needs to be fixed. Yeah, I mean, hopefully this is a new trail, so you don't need maintenance in 1 year. It's probably problem 2 mayors down the line, so.
Does anybody have anything else that they heard from the group?
There was a
here?
comment, I think Sylvia asked about the values of affordable housing. Can't tell you that.
I
off the top of my
wanted
head.
to stick on the trails for now. It's just, but thanks. We'll come back to that. Yes. And that's actually by state law. So, yeah, so I don't know if the mayor has it. So nothing, I know there was a thing on the history. I think there were several people who spoke on that. Is there any, and I think there were, I know Paula Getty is the professional on it. Mike, did you have anything to add to the history piece of it, or maybe one of you both? Mike, you have to, please go to Mike. Thank you.
as far as the history piece goes, I handed out a package to each of you, describing the history as well. The commenters already prepared. And also that within the township, you have publications that I've seen that the town of West Windsor has about the history of this Lenape Trail in West Windsor. So there's a lot of information available to everybody to read.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a couple of other questions, non-trail related, so.
Oh, non-trail? Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so we're done with the trail questions for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done
Yeah,
with trail.
if you wanted to answer
Yeah,
any of
yeah.
those, and then we'll.
Yeah, so you asked about low, moderate and very low income. I don't know, that's governed by state law. I don't remember top of my head, but I'll send you that information. And each development is required to have certain numbers in each category, but that's all governed by the state law.
You can find that, if I may interrupt, you can find that if you go to like our Affordable Housing Administrator, Piazza Associates, has a website. And his practice, which includes, it's not limited to West Windsor, but it has numerous towns in it, has a case-by-case basis of every affordable house that's available, and you could look up what the income levels are for the various species. So it's all publicly available.
I think what Sylvia was asking is when we have to build new, what ratio? And that would be, that should be available on, I think, the DCA site, Mike. Okay, and there is a.
State law.
Mhm. And the middle income one, I know goes over 100,000 for certain families. So there's a fairly high range, and there's also a minimum that you have to earn because you have to be able to afford the affordable housing. Even at the low level, you can't be somebody who, makes 2,000 a year. You have to make some minimum that you're able to afford the rent that legally they have to charge. So.
The teachers, the police officers, firemen, people like that, and now even some young lawyers, affordable housing, they can apply and probably get approved.
And there's also a list by region what you're allowed to charge for the particularly the rental units.
You can actually see the exact
Yeah,
amounts on
yeah.
the website.
Yeah.
Like our kids did
Mhm.
the same town that we live in.
Except they don't get any preference.
One last question. Yeah, Mr. Mitlak left, but he asked about EDA and 100% affordable. Allison has been adamantly opposed to 100% affordable. You have been adamantly opposed to 100% affordable. You have said that, and we haven't done yet, except for very special cases like, and
Bear Creek.
ADA units is a very complicated issue. Princeton does allow ADA units. They were not happy with the results that they received, and state is also working very hard. State may impose us to allow developers to change from some office buildings and malls into housing. State may also impose on us on ADA. There's several legislations under consideration to force all townships to allow ADA without any zoning oversight by the town. And that's also a struggle and a fight that League of Municipalities is fighting right now.
If I may, Council President, there's also a question about what the DCA review and really our review is of the various pieces of property that DCA said could be built upon and we said could not. And the question was, if the land is in litigation, can that land be counted or not counted as part of our count? And I've actually looked at this for a number of towns. And if the approvals are in place for that property, they have not been struck out by the court or enjoined by the court, then you can count that as property that it cannot be built upon for affordable housing and other things. So it does, our count is accurate in that you're counting land that there may be litigation involved.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Okay, we've closed public comment, and now at 9:30, almost, we're moving on to administration comments. Carrie?
We have some comments tonight, a reminder and traffic advisory that Mercer County has changed the speed limit on Old Trenton Road, County Route 535. Signage has been installed to reflect the new limits. Most notably, the speed limit was changed to 35 miles between Bear Creek Boulevard and Princeton Heightstown Road. 2025 taxes and sewer rent information is up on the website. First quarter taxes are due on February 1st, 2025, but we'll have a grace period until February 10th, 2025. Payments received after February 10th will be charged interest from February 1st until the payment is received per NJSA 54-4-67. Sewer rent is due on March 1st, but we'll have a grace period until March 10th. Payments made after March 10th will be charged interest from March 1st until the payment is received per the same statute NJSA 54-4-67. The senior center will be hosting ongoing AARP free tax services from February 4th through April 15th. Appointments are required, so please contact the senior center if you are interested in the free tax services. Yard waste collection will resume March 3rd, so you still have a little bit of time before you could put yard waste out, but it can be dropped off at Public Works Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. or Saturday, 8 to 12 p.m. Tomorrow at the senior center, the health department is hosting a small little presentation addressing the winter blues from 10 a.m. to 10:45 in the double classroom. And a reminder that annual dog licenses renewals are due January 31st, 2025. All dogs and cats 7 months of age and older must be licensed, and owners are required to renew each pet license each year. Dog licenses, once again, expire on January 31st. You can drop that off at the health department or go on their website and get more information on how to pay for your dog license. And cat licenses, as a reminder, expire on April 30th of this year. And burglar alarm registration is ongoing now through March 31st. All burglar alarms must be registered on an annual basis. Re-registration of burglar alarms must be done between January 1st and March 31st. There's a $25 fee to register. Failure to register a burglar alarm system annually may result in a late fee and or fine. You can do this with the police department. Go on their website and then download the registration form, or you can drop it off and contact the police department directly. And then finally, a reminder that the 2025 Dad-Daughter Dance for the Division of Parks and Rec is on February 21st from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at Mercer Oaks Golf Club. For more information, please go to the Parks and Rec page to register. That's all about updates.
Thank you. Carrie, do we put the speed limit change out on e-bulletin? I know they put it on the Facebook page.
If it had, I know I sent it up to them, so if it hasn't, it will be either tonight or tomorrow.
Good, thank you. Mayor?
I just answered the questions unless I missed anything.
I think you've talked,
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to council members. Martin, you want to go first?
Sure.
Huh?
Well, it's 9:30. Let's.
Well, I don't know. I'll take a poll of the council. No, this council's not taking a break, but feel free, Alice.
So yeah, I just wanted to I wanted to take the time to send our sincere condolences to a teacher in the district who passed away by the name of Art Stubbs. He had been a teacher for 23 years, West Windsor North and community, very well respected, revered, and liked by so many students throughout the years. PE teacher, like I said, worked at North Community, different sports teams. Very sad time for his family and for the school district. So I just want to say that we pray that God will grant his family and those who know him strength, peace, tranquility, and comfort at this time. I just wanted to also mention, reference, I'm a descendant of Cherokee Indians, Native Americans in South Carolina and Georgia. So I'm always very pleased when I hear about Native American recognition in this country or even in this region. To Chashaway Linehan, which is Tunde's Moses' actual name. So I'm very, very proud to hear stuff like that. Most don't know, I was president and director of operations of the Windsor Athletic Club from 2014 to 2021. And the back side of the property, there is a statewide Native American historical site already in this town, West Windsor. Most people don't know that because that's a private property. But I've walked back there hundreds of times, and I've seen the different rocks and the different pieces that were brought from the ocean to West Windsor. So if anyone ever has the opportunity, you're more than welcome, obviously, to reach out to the Windsor Athletic Club because it is a statewide landmark, and it's right here in West Windsor. And Mr. Surtees has the information. I used to have the paperwork. Obviously, I don't no longer work there. But that is a statewide landmark. The other thing I just wanted to mention in reference to affordable housing, I've said this many times before. I'm one of the few individuals probably in this room who moved into West Windsor through affordable housing, have lived in West Windsor through affordable housing. And as you have mentioned, so many people have this perception of affordable housing, unfortunately, and I'm just not bragging or boasting. I'm very proud as an affordable housing individual of, running the Windsor Athletic Club, bringing every ethnic group, religious group in this, and doing several events for this county and this community together for 8 years, being a former school board member, being a current council member, my wife working at the Windsor Athletic Club, my wife working at the Township of West Windsor, my wife now working in West Windsor Plainsboro School District. I think we've contributed very, very immensely to many things to benefit the West Windsor Township and residents. So I just want people to, any type of notion that, affordable housing is less than, individuals that are less than, you're looking at someone who has contributed immensely. And I will once again agree with others. I'm definitely, as someone who has lived affordable housing, opposed to 100% affordable housing because I have 5 kids, 2 are presently in the district. I've seen the comments that have been made about individuals who are affordable housing and those notions that have been made towards them that at times have not been accurate and legitimate. And I just would not want to see of all affordable housing in this community. That's just my personal opinion. And once again, as someone who's lived affordable housing and moved into this community affordable housing. As well, if anyone ever wants to ask me, I'm open to the conversation about the process and the procedures to move into a West Windsor as an affordable housing. I've dealt with Piazza and Associates a long time ago, many, many years ago, but I'm very familiar with the process, the length of time, and things of that nature. I've actually given so much information over the years to many, many people throughout the state and even Central Jersey about Piazza and Associates and the benefits of affordable housing. So I just wanted to make those comments about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin, and thank you for making that offer. Sonia?
I'll keep it brief. I don't have many comments. I just want to congratulate all the members of the volunteer fire companies, both West Windsor and Princeton Junction, on their installation this past weekend. Many received recognition for being top responders. So I'm really happy to see all our volunteers giving their time and effort to this township. I think it's a huge benefit for our township, and any support we can give it to them. I think we should do that. Mike, I have a question. We have a resolution for the volunteer fire station 43 for the apparatus. My husband is a volunteer firefighter with the company.
Yes.
Do I can. Okay, thank you.
And Mike, I'm on the fire police too. Can I vote on this truck? No? Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm glad we have 5 people here tonight. Okay, thanks. Dan?
No, I have no further comments.
No. Okay. Linda?
Well, yeah, also we went to the annual volunteer fire stations for 43 and 44. So my thanks for having all of us there for a very lovely evening. It was mentioned in brochure that like at Princeton Junction's volunteer fire company, there's 725 calls just for them last year. And the West Windsor Volunteer Fire Company went out on 773 calls. That last year, the numbers were in the 600s, I believe, for both fire companies. And so, the growth is coming in and the calls are coming in. They come in around the clock, all hours, weekends, and our volunteers are there and they go out and they train just as much as the paid professional firefighters. So I consider them volunteer professionals because that's the standard. So thank you. Thank you. And I was going to say I'm happy to vote on the fire truck, but I guess I can't. But we need this equipment. Some of these trucks used to be in the high 700,000-800,000. Now it's like $1.1 million. So it's a lot of money, but you have to have it. That's absolutely needed, and they keep us safe and protect our property. So thank you to all. Chief Applegate, Charlie, always top responder. Thank you on that. And also thanks Mike Schuett, Jerry Foster, for their detailed presentation on the trails and answering questions. And thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. So I guess the concept plan will, if it's approved resolution, assuming, then there'll be the next bite at the apple as more detailed engineering plans are completed and more public input too along the way. So.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. I do have something to say. Today's January 27th, which is International Holocaust Day. Many of my friends and neighbors go back to their old country and they visit their relatives, whether they came to America last year or their great-grandparents came over in the 1800s. I love looking at their Facebook pictures of happy families reuniting overseas. For those of us who are Jewish or of European Jewish ancestry, no matter if from Germany, Poland, Austria, Ukraine, France, Italy, or many other nations, there is no going home like that. Our families' homes were taken, and 6 million of us were brutally and systematically captured, tortured, and murdered for the crime of being Jewish. I and many good people of all religions and beliefs are deeply troubled by the renewed anti-Semitism both locally and around the world. There's always an excuse to hate. Never again is now. On a more hopeful note, thank you to the Human Relations Commission for putting on a Martin Luther King Day event last week. I particularly liked Elliot Gordon's photo talk about his personal experiences at MLK's 63 March on Washington and what it meant to him. I enjoyed Saraba Fusion's familiar civil rights songs from the 60s, fused with a more modern Indian sound. And I would also like to congratulate the West Windsor Volunteer Fire Department members from both 43 and 44 who were sworn in and received promotions and awards on Saturday. Thank you for going all that training so you can serve the people of West Windsor in a demanding and dangerous volunteer job. Thank you for that. And that ends our our council comment. And Allison, do you have any clerk comments?
I do not.
You do not. Okay. Can we go to the consent agenda, please?
October 28th, 2024, business session as amended. November 12th, 2024, business session as amended. November 25th, 2024, business session as amended. November 25th, 2024, closed session as amended. December 9th, 2024, business session as amended. December 16th, 2024, business session as amended. Bills and claims.
Does anybody wish to pull anything? No? Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Gawas?
Yes.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Whitfield?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes. Recommendations for administration and council clerk.
2025-R036, authorizing the reappointment of Doug Tyndall as a member of the Agricultural Advisory Committee with a term to expire on January 14th, 2028. 2025-R037, authorizing submittal for recertification for 2025 with the Sustainable New Jersey Municipal Certification Program. 2025-R038, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a professional services agreement with StarNet Solutions, Inc. for information technology support services for the police division, $7,063. 2025-R039, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute contract amendment number 3 to T&M Associates for additional supplementary work for the Duck Pond Run Sewer Interceptor Project, Phase 2, $113,850 for a total not to exceed $295,404. 2025-R040, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a professional services agreement with Daniel Dobromilski and Associates on a consultant basis for professional landscape architectural planning and certified tree expert services for the period January 27th, 2025 through December 31st, 2025, $500. 2025-R041, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the second renewal of a contract with On-Site Landscape Management, Inc. for public lands maintenance, cul-de-sac and street tree maintenance and replacement, $147,213. 2025-R042, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a professional services agreement with Van Cleef Engineering Associates for miscellaneous engineering services, $2,500. 2025-R043, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a contract with On-Site Landscape Management, Inc. for landscape maintenance for detention basins and open space lands, $134,499. 2025-R044, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a contract with Boticus Construction LLC for the 2024 sidewalk repair program, $89,610. 2025-R045, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a professional services agreement with Daniel Dobromilski and Associates for professional services pertaining to the West Windsor Township 2025 Sustainable New Jersey Recertification Program, $20,000. 2025-R046, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the renewal of a shared services agreement with Hamilton Township for the provision of sexually transmitted disease STT clinic services. 2025-R047, authorizing the business administrator to purchase one new E1 rescue fire apparatus from Absolute Fire Protection Company, Inc. under Sourcewell Contract E1 113021-RVG-1, $1,160,000, 398. 2025-R048, consent for Friends of West Windsor Open Space to submit a grant application for the Green Acres program for the project known as Tatami Swamp Trail. 2025-R049, present and prospective fair share obligations for 2025 to 2035 fourth round of municipal affording housing compliance for the Township of West Windsor.
Okay, question, if we have two people who can't vote, can we still do a vote as a whole and then just put that as abstain? Thank you. Is there anything anybody would like pulled? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve with the stipulation of the Sonia Gauss and Linda Jeevers abstaining on the fire truck, R 2025 R047.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Okay, Gauss,
Yes.
Jeevers. Yes. Weiss,
Yes.
Whitfield,
Yes.
Mandel.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, introduction of ordinances.
2025-01, an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 200 Land Use Part 5, Princeton Junction Redevelopment Plan, regulatory provisions in the Code of the Township of West Windsor, Article 34, Land Use Controls, Section 200 to 260, to amend the RP1 Princeton Junction Redevelopment Plan District.
Can I have a motion to introduce?
Salute.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Gawes?
Yes.
Gevers?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Whitfield?
Yes.
Mandel?
Yes. Okay, the public hearing is going to be March 3rd, 2025.
March 3rd, 2025, public hearing.
Okay, I'm now going to open a second public comment, 3-minute limit. If anybody does wish to get up and speak.
I think this will do. Oh, all right. Okay, Allison Miller, 41 Windsor Drive. Thank you all for voting yes on the Tatamy and the affordable housing. Dan, you had so many comments about affordable housing. I'm just inviting you to the next Affordable Housing Committee meeting where you'll get all the answers to the questions without my trying to remember them all. So please come, and if you don't come, it's all online. And aside from that, thank you all for voting yes.
Thank you, Allison. Does anybody else wish to get up and speak?
So Michael Shu at 234 Windsor Court, Ewing. So I'm the acting president of the Friends of West Windsor Open Space. As you know, Allison's the president, and I echo Allison's thank yous. And I've really enjoyed the process working with you on this. And I special shout out to the mayor, who has always made himself available, and I appreciate it very much. And I just wanted to say to the residents who live in that vicinity and to all residents who want to be involved moving forward with this, always encourage you to do so. And we're very excited about moving on to this historic trail, which is going to be unique in New Jersey. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mike. Does anybody else wish to get up and speak? No, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. And we do have administration updates. Nope, sorry. Council reports next. Linda?
Shade Tree Commission met on January 22nd. However, there was not a quorum. So the reorganization part of that has now moved to another meeting scheduled for Monday, February 3rd at 6:30 p.m. in a municipal building. And there'll be some other topics on that agenda, including the trail that we discussed tonight. Commission will be working with a consultant eventually on updating the township's community forestry management plan. And this work is required to get completed by the end of this year.
Thank you, Linda. Dan?
The Recreation Commission met also on the 22nd. They had their reorganization and the first planning meeting. And probably the big sort of general concern for the year is to ensure that, as you know, this is a self-funded organization, but there is concerns to be able to continue to maintain level of income commensurate with their expenses, and how a number of ideas were floated about ways that we can get additional community sponsorship, business sponsorship for a variety of events that have happened over the course of the year. So we'll be looking at that, and as well as ways that we can communicate better and more effectively with the broader community to get more people involved and engaged with the programs that they provide. Board of Ed meeting is tomorrow.
Thank you, Dan. Sonia?
No reports.
Okay. Martin?
Sure. Planning Board reorganization meeting was on Wednesday, January 15th. Meeting began with voting of chair, vice chair, and reappointment of planning board members. Planning board chair will be Michael Karp, vice chair Curtis Hoberman, Jota Kabari, Alan Stechtel, and Robert Rivera were reappointed to the board. General procedure guidelines were approved and adopted for 2025. We then went through proceedings for the only application of the evening, which was PB 2411SW, which Carnegie Center requested sign waivers for the facade sign on the southern part of the building that faces Route 1. The sign will be a 3-foot by 28-foot facade for the largest tenant in Carnegie Center building, that particular building, which is Taiho Oncology. The sign waiver was approved. Next planning board meeting is Wednesday, February 19th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The Environmental Commission hasn't met since the last meeting, but we will be having a separate small meeting on recertification to start that going, and then we're going to have our regular meeting for February. Thank you for that. Administration updates, anything else from Mayor Administration? Okay, Allison, we have a closed session. Let everybody know that we're not going to vote. Does everybody want a break between the end of the closed session? Okay, all right. Okay, let's finish up.
We want a motion to go into closed session and then.
Yeah, we'll have, okay, can I have yeah, you'll have to read that. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
Salute.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
Whereas
Vote,
MJ.
vote. Yeah, we do. Roll call.
Oh, roll call to go into closed session.
Yeah, there's a motion. I have to.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you to everybody for coming. We're not going to do any more voting today. So when we come out of closed session, someone's going to read that. And thank you for everyone who gave the presentation, who asked questions, and who answered them.
Okay, here we go. Gawas,
Yes.
Jeevers.
Yes.
Boyce.
Yes.
Whitfield.
Yes.
Mandel.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Whereas
are going into
NJSA, oh, I have to read it to go into closed section.
Yeah, go ahead and
Yep.
read.
Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 allows for a public body to go into closed session during a public meeting. And whereas the Township Council of West Windsor Township has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public. And whereas the regular meeting of this Township Council will reconvene. And whereas the below stated subject matter shall be made available at such time as the issues discussed therein are resolved and its disclosure would not subvert any particular exemption for convening a closed session. Now therefore it be resolved that the Township Council of the Township of West Windsor go into closed session for the following reasons as outlined in NJSA 10:4-12 to discussion of contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah.